Baseball is America's national sport. Every year, 16 million Americans step up to take a swing from the home plate. In the major leagues, balls can fly off the bat at 160 kilometers per hour. Today, only one factory in America still makes gloves by hand to protect players from a bone-breaking catch. How do they do it? Nocona, Texas. This sleepy town, just a few kilometers from the Oklahoma border, is the home of Nocona American Ball Gloves. For 3/4 of a century, their gloves have been saving the fingers of baseball's finest. The company is run by Rob Story, the founder's grandson.
So this is the main factory floor, and takes about 30 different pieces of material with up to 10 different folks touching each glove as it comes through the process.
In the early days of baseball, players caught the ball with their bare hands. Back then, gloves were for weaklings. But broken bones have a way of changing people's minds. And in 1875, Charlie Waite shocked spectators when he wore a leather mitt, playing first base for the St. Louis Brown Stockings. And so the baseball glove was born. In the decades since, athletes have become stronger, bats hit harder, and balls fly faster. So the glove has had to evolve to prevent fractured fingers. The basic material of a baseball glove is 2.2 millimeter thick cow leather. Unfortunately, cow leather is way too tough to cut by hand. That's where Kim York's super-sized cookie cutters come in.
They're super sharp. We have to be really careful when we cut with them. There have been emergency room visits for cuts. I always start with my biggest piece, which is the palm of the glove.
A hydraulic press pushes 25 tons of pressure down on the cutter to stamp out the palm. 10 different cutters carve out the 27 individual parts that will make up one glove.
These are all the holes that get punched out for all the laces at the end when the glove gets laced up.
The leather glove parts come to ace stitcher Rosemary Gonzalez.
Here's all the parts for the lining. I'm getting them ready to stitch.
The leather parts provide the basic shape of the glove, but they don't offer nearly enough protection. A baseball in flight can be a lethal weapon. The fastest pitch recorded was 169 kilometers per hour by Cincinnati Reds player Aroldis Chapman in 2010. Rosemary attaches 7 millimeter thick felt padding to the fingers.
This is the line, and those are the felt fingers. Those protect your palm when you catch the ball so it won't hit your palm real hard.
But even this padding isn't enough to protect from flying balls arriving with a force equivalent to 120 kilograms. For the next layer of protection, an outer shell of hard leather is sewn together by another ace stitcher, Tammy Hale.
I enjoy watching baseball, and my team is the Texas Rangers.
But the joins aren't strong enough, so leather strips called welting are added between the fingers.
And that's the last of it. There's your fingers.
Shannon Dyer sews the palm protection and fingers together.
And it's finished.
The glove's nearly ready, but right now the outer shell is inside out. Martin Gomez has the job of torturing the leather into submission. First, he imprisons his victims in a steamer to soften them up.
The steam softens the leather, make it easy for me to turn it.
After they've steamed for 5 minutes, he gets to work with his implements of torture. He impales the first finger onto a pole attached to an unusual-looking belt. He then pushes the finger onto a wooden spear poking out of the bench. This turns it the right way out. He does every finger this way. The glove is still in two parts, so he reaches for a three-pronged metal hand to insert the liner.
This is what it looks like when it's turned. Start looking like a baseball glove.
At this point, the glove would provide protection, but it's not going to help you hold onto a catch. The answer is to add a webbed pocket to cushion the ball. Master weaver Doug Fulkerson has worked here for 4 years.
This is the pocket of the glove, or the web. It goes between your thumb and your index finger.
Pockets first appeared in gloves in the 1930s. Catching in baseball had always been two-handed, but webbing changed the game, allowing spectacular one-handed catches.
This part's pretty important. Don't forget to put the bar in there. That's what it looks like after it's put together.
If you caught a ball with this glove, it would still slip through your fingers. So Gloria Reyes uses an 8mm thick steel needle to link the glove's fingers together with leather laces. Gloria uses special knots and loops that overlap to keep the laces tight.
It's complicated. It takes like 30 minutes to lace the glove.
Her last job is to lace the all-important pocket into place.
That's it, finished glove.
The glove's complete, but the leather is still too stiff to close the fingers around the ball. And a drop catch in baseball can lose the game. The glove gets flexibility from the none-too-tender touch of Randall Maulsby.
At the very beginning, we really don't have much of a flex you can really tell, but as we continue with this machine, and as you can see, it is more flexible than it was before.
And that's it. From cured cow leather to handcrafted mitt. What a catch. Christmas is traditionally a time for drinking too much, eating too much, and falling asleep on the sofa. There are few more pleasant ways to induce indigestion than a traditional Christmas pudding. Britons eat 25 million of them every year. You might pin the blame for this on Dickens, who gave the flaming pudding a starring role in A Christmas Carol. But the recipe has hardly changed in 300 years. How do they do it? According to legend, the tradition of eating sweet plum pudding at Christmas was born in 1714, when King George I asked for one as a festive treat. And where the king led, the nation followed. Great Chesterford, southern England. The historic village basks in the summer sun. But in the Coles Puddings factory, Christmas is on the way. For 70 years, they've been making Christmas puddings to a traditional recipe. Now, they dish out 50,000 a week. The classic pudding mix starts with raisins, currants, and sultanas. Cole imports 30 tons of the finest from South Africa and Turkey. When you're making batches of 1,000, you've got to go big on the ingredients. So Sam Britnell pours in roughly 30 kilos of each. But then you need something to balance out all that chewy fruit. In go 10 kilograms of breadcrumbs, 25 kilos of sugar, and 32 kilos of flour. It's a tasty mix, but one that would fall apart the moment it hit the plate. The magic ingredient that holds it together is vegetable-based suet, a fat that melts, then sets the pudding as it cools. Don't worry, here comes the good stuff. Sam pours in 10 litres of golden syrup and treacle to moisten the mixture. The problem with all these delicious ingredients is that sooner or later they'd go off, and nobody wants mouldy pudding. A generous helping of booze preserves the mix and gives it a little kick for grown-ups. They use French brandy as well as British cider. Managing director Simon Hatcher pays special attention to this part.
You soak the fruit with the alcohol, so the fruit's nice and moist. That makes a difference.
Once everything's in, the mix weighs 250 kilograms, or 2 very well-fed Santas. But it needs to be mixed without breaking up all that delicious fruit, which would spoil the texture. So the pudding crew use a giant food mixer with meter-long arms driven by a 3,000-watt motor to power through the glutinous gunge. The mixer takes it slow at a stately 6 turns a minute to protect the fruit. This mix now has to make 1,000 individual puddings, so it's taken to the pudding pumper. The pumper's mighty mechanical arms tip the stuff into a giant hopper. It measures out precise quantities of mix and squirts them into plastic pots. Every time Scott bumps the lever with his knee, another one comes out. At a rate of 30 pots a minute, this dream team can dish out up to 10,000 puddings a day. The mix is ready, but it needs to stay moist as it cooks. So Sam wheels the pots into a steam oven.
It injects steam into the oven, so the steam keeps the pudding moist while we're cooking.
It's basically an industrialized version of the centuries-old way of cooking puddings with steam and cloth. After a 4-hour sweat, the puddings are cooked, cooled, and packaged. Christmas is on the way. A Victorian tradition made the modern way.